You are listening to That Hoarder Overcome Compulsive Hoarding. I'm a hoarder who needed an outlet to talk about this unusual and isolating mental illness. And because my hoarding is secret, I started this podcast to talk about it. Subscribe to the podcast and find my social media links, episode transcripts, and every link that I mention at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk. Finally, I am not a doctor. I'm just a hoarder doing her best. So do seek professional support if and when you need it. Hey, how are you? Happy New Year! I hope 2025 has started beautifully for you and that it carries on to be a really wonderful year where whatever you hope to get out of it, you get at least a fraction of that. Let's hope for better things in 2025. I hope you had, if you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or anything at all over the last few weeks, I hope you had a wonderful time as well. So I'm going to start with some housekeeping.
Let's start with some housekeeping.
It still makes me laugh. Excitingly, I have created for the first time a discount code. So anyone, whether you've been before or not, can get 20% off your tickets for a de-hoarding accountability Zoom session. The discount code is in the email newsletter that goes out every Monday. So if you would like the discount code for 20% off any de-hoarding accountability Zoom sessions that you book, you can get that by signing up for the newsletter. Hi, this is That Hoarder from the future, popping in while editing this episode to say that I forgot to mention a crucial fact, which is that the discount code works until the end of January 2025. So the next accountability Zoom session is on the 12th of January, and the one after that is the 31st. I would love to see you there. And the calendar, the 2025 Decluttering Inspiration Calendar, is also still available. For links to either sign up to the newsletter or to come to an accountability Zoom session or to get a calendar, head over to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/links and you can get everything you need there. So today I am going to talk about a song. I need to warn you at the start that, unlike my usual episodes, there is swearing in this one, and there is also intense stuff around suicide, mental distress, and there's also some dark religious imagery. And if any of those things are not what you're looking for today, this might be one to skip or revisit another time. So I'm talking about a song that honestly changed my 2024. I lost two close friends early in the year, and I sobbed to this song many, many times while I was in the depth of grief in particular, but also because it spoke to me in a way that nothing really ever had before about something I've always struggled with. It changed the way I deal with and think about my inner critic. And it's the first thing in years that's led me to look for other ways to deal with this kind of constant abuse from a different bit of my brain. It shifted something quite profoundly in me and led to the interview I did with Steve Chapman in episode 161, who is an artist who does work around drawing his inner critic and dancing with his inner critic. And I would never have looked for anything that led me to his work if it hadn't been for this song. The song is called Hi Ren, and it's by an artist called Ren Gill. A lot of people on YouTube have done first-time reactions to this song. Now, this that you're about to listen to is not that. This is like a 200th time analysis or a 300th time analysis. I can't tell you how many times I've listened to this song in the last 6 months. And different people take different things from this song. For some, it's very much about mental illness. For some, it's about struggles with creativity and imposter syndrome. For others, other things altogether. And for me, it is all of those things, but the element that really shifted something in my psyche and ultimately changed me was what it tells me about what works, what doesn't work, and what harms us in terms of dealing with our inner critics. So what I'm going to do, I will let it play for a few seconds, and then I will jump in with my thoughts throughout the song. If you haven't heard this song before, it's honestly like nothing you've ever heard. Even calling it a song feels too basic. Hi Ren is a work of art. So buckle up, let's do this. So it starts with a young man in a wheelchair being wheeled into a bare room with cracked walls and in a bit of a mess. With a couple of lamps, the young man is wearing what looks like a hospital gown and he has a guitar.
Hi there, Ren. It's been a little while. Did you miss me? You thought you buried me, didn't you? Risky. Cause I always come back. Deep down, you know that. Deep down, you know I'm always in periphery. Ren, on your pleased to see me. It's been weeks since we spoke, bro. I know you need me. You're the sheep, I'm the shepherd. Not your place to lead me. Not your place to be biting off the hand that feeds me. Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself since my therapist told me I'm ill. And I've been making some progress lately, and I've learned some new coping skills. So I haven't really needed you much, man. I think we need to just step back and chill.
So what you may be starting to realise just from that brief intro is that what we've got here is two sides of Ren, two sides of the same person. They are talking to each other. They're calling each other Ren. They both began with hi Ren. They are the same person, but two distinct characters. And for reasons that will become clear, I'm hesitant to call them the kind of good side and the bad side, or the evil side and the innocent side, or ill and well. I'm going to go with dark and light, I think, but even that's not perfect. Now, audibly, when you listen, you can hear which of the Wrens is speaking, because the tone of voice is very different. The kind of dark Ren is speaking quite harshly. There's an edge to his voice. And the lighter Ren has a smoother voice. If you're watching visually, you can see differences in the lighting. When the dark Ren is rapping, the lights are flashing in a really chaotic way, for instance. But also, when each Ren is speaking, they face in a different direction. So let's see what's next.
Ren, you sound more insane than I do. You think that those doctors are really there to guide you? Been through this a million times. Your civilian mind is so perfect to always being lied to. Okay, take another pill, boy. Drown yourself in the sound of white noise. Follow this 10-step program, rejoice. All your problems will be gone. Fucking dumb boy.
So you're getting the idea here that the dark Ren, the crueler Ren, is very, very critical. And what we're hearing here is very relatable and familiar. Those questions of, is trying to get better a waste of time? Is there any point? Am I fooling myself by thinking there's any point in following this advice and taking my meds and doing what people suggest I do? That cruel voice saying it's a waste of time, for me at least, is incredibly familiar.
Nah, mate, this time is different, man, trust me. I feel like things might be falling in place. And my music's been kinda doing bits too. Like I actually might do something great. And when I'm gone, maybe I'll be remembered for doing something special with myself. That's why I don't think that we should talk, man. Cause when you're with me, it never seems to help.
And so lighter Ren is pushing back a bit. He's clearly been beaten down for a long time by the dark side. But here he's trying to stand up for himself, but also with some hesitation, like placating the darker side. Like, no, this is different. Things are all right. I'm doing okay. My music's doing okay. Honestly, when you're around, it just doesn't seem to be helpful. I've tried to have that conversation with my inner critic too.
You think that you can amputate me? I am you, you are me, you are I am we are one. Split in two, that makes one. So you see, you gotta kill you if you wanna kill me.
And it's getting serious. The dark side does not like this pushback. The dark side does not appreciate any resistance from the lighter side to the dark side being in charge. And it's very, very powerful because he's making an important point. He can't be amputated. You think you can amputate me? He can't be amputated like a diseased foot because it's the same person. I am you, you are me, you are I am we. And I've always tried to separate myself from my inner critic because it's so cruel and so mean and so relentlessly awful. I don't want that to be part of me, and I definitely want it to go away. But it's all in my brain. And then what he ends those lines with was, we are one split in two, that makes one. So you see, you've got to kill you if you want to kill me. And that's a brutal thing to say. But there's some truth there. I think a lot of us have spent a lot of time and energy trying to silence, kill, destroy, maim the inner critic. But as long as it's coming from inside our own brain, it's us. and it can't be done.
I'm not leftover dinner, I'm not scraps on the side. Oh, your music is thriving, delusional guy. Where's your top 10 hit? Where's your interview with Oprah? Wow, your Grammys, Ren? Nowhere.
This dark Ren knows how to hurt lighter Ren. These kind of attacks about success and failure. Your music is thriving, delusional guy. And then points to all the things he hasn't had to prove that he's failing. But is this darker side evil? Because I get a sense at this point that the darker side is scared. The darker side senses and hears rejection and is kicking back like a child might, or like somebody who can't control their temper and they don't know how to manage their emotions. And so it comes out as an attack because they're scared, because they're rejected, because they're flailing and they don't know what to do. And I get a sense of that at this point as well.
Yeah, but my music's not commercial like that. I never chase numbers, statistics or stats. I never write hooks for the radio, they never even play me, so why would I concern myself with that? But my music is really connecting. And the people who find it respect it. And for me that's enough, cause this life's been tough, so it gives me a purpose I can rest in.
And he's pushing back again. He's been working on himself. He says that earlier in the song. He's finding pride in what he does. He's taking pride in the work he's doing. And, you know, as I speak, his song has 43 million views on YouTube. So when he says, my music is really connecting and the people who find it respect it, that's true. He's finding ways to feel proud of himself and defend himself against these attacks. He's been building strength, but now he's talking to the dark side of himself again. He's having to prove himself.
Man, you sound so pretentious. Ren, your music is so self-centered. No one wants to hear another song about how much you hate yourself. Trust me.
And the darker side of Ren is really hitting him where it hurts here. Dark Ren knows exactly how to cause hurt. This is one of the things this song made me realise. My inner critic knows exactly where to hit to cause the most damage. At this point, no one wants to hear another song about how much you hate yourself. We might not all write songs about how much we hate ourselves, but we might hate ourselves for even talking about how much we hate ourselves. No one wants to hear us talk about our problems, right? But that's wrong. We don't want to be the person who talks about nothing but our problems. But there are places and people where we can talk about how much we hate ourselves or how much we're struggling with ourselves. And it doesn't have to be that either you're the person who talks about nothing but your problems or you present a perfect vision of yourself to the world where everything is ideal. There's a balance. But darker Ren is saying, no one wants to hear that. People do want to hear it. 43 million people want to hear this particular song saying exactly this. And we may not all have 43 million people ready to listen to us, which is probably a blessing. But there's always somewhere we can talk about the hard stuff.
You should be so lucky, having me inside you to guide you, remind you to manage expectations, provide you perspective. That thing you neglected, I get it. You wanna be a big deal, next Jimi Hendrix.
So the first time, or 5, I heard this song, these lines confused me a bit and stuck with me because it took me a minute to get it. You should be so lucky, having me inside you to guide you, remind you to manage expectations, provide you perspective. And the reason these lines threw me was because I realised that what I think it means is that on some level, the darker Ren, the inner critic in the context in which I'm talking, thinks he's helping. This is the inner critic being protective. Now, in a really messed up way. This is not the way to be protective of somebody, least of all yourself. But in a really messed up way, I think he is trying to protect him, maybe in the best way he knows how, which is actually misguided and damaging and hurtful and counterproductive. But I think he thinks he's helping.
Forget it. Man, it's not like that. Man, it's just like that. I'm inside you, you twat. No, it's not, man. You're wrong. When I write, I belong. Let me break the fourth wall by acknowledging this song. Ren sits down, has a stroke of genius. He wants to write a song that was not done previous. A battle with the subconscious. Eminem did it. Played on guitar. Plan B did it.
Again, Dark Ren knows exactly where to hit him so that it really hurts. In episode 17 of this podcast, I interviewed a woman called Elizabeth Nelson, who is the child of a hoarder. And something she said in that was, your parents can push your buttons because they installed them, which I thought was beautifully put. So imagine how much your inner voice, your inner critic, knows about exactly which buttons to push. We share a brain with them. Of course they know exactly what hurts. And that's what the dark Ren is doing here. He knows that Ren, as a whole, probably has some sense of not being original enough because he's doing things that when he's critical of himself, he might feel a derivative of other artists or copying other artists. But that's not how it goes. That's not how it works. Music is always building on other people's music. But because the darker side of Ren knows that that's an insecurity, he knows exactly how to push that button. And that's how inner critics work. When he says, man, it's not like that. And then Darker Ren says, man, it's just like that. I'm inside you, you twat. Like, that's how it works. That's how the inner critic can make us smart so much with the insults and the abuse, because they know where the insecurities are. They know where our weak points are, or where the points are that we feel are weak. Did you know that I run de-hoarding accountability Zoom sessions twice a month? We get together, cameras off if you prefer, each with a de-hoarding goal, and we get on with our own tasks while chatting. They're really friendly, and it's so refreshing to be able to talk with others who face the same problem. Grab a ticket for the next one at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/ticket.
Man, you're not original, you criminal rip-off artist. The pinnacle of your success is stealing other people's material. Ren, mate, we've heard it all before. She sells seashells on the seashore. Fuck you, I don't need you, I don't need to hear this. Cause I'm fine by myself, I'm a genius. And I will be great, and I will make waves, and I'll shake up the whole world beneath it.
And this might sound triumphant. I'm fine by myself, I'm a genius. And I will be great, and I will make waves. And it might feel triumphant, but I don't think it is. It's reactive and it's frantic. He's not standing up for himself in a grounded, powerful way. He's panicking. He's escalating a bit in reaction to this endless, awful, really personally targeted abuse.
That's right, speak your truth, your fucking god complex leaks out of you. It's refreshing to actually hear you say it instead of downplay it.
Music is all about the creative process, and if people can find something to relate to within that, then that's just a bonus.
And this was the point where I realised that whatever defence I offered to my inner critic, whatever I came up with, she would always know where else to hurt. Whatever I say, she knows what the worst thing would be to say back, and she says it. He's just said he's a genius. He's rejected the dark side's criticism of his work, and he said, I'll be great, I'll shake up the whole world. And the inner critic still has hurtful things to say. And this is the point in the song that made me know profoundly, deeply, that the back and forth arguing and fighting within my own brain was completely futile. It was absolutely pointless.
Fuck you, I'ma fucking kill you, Ren. Well, fucking kill me then, let's fucking have you, Ren. I'ma do it, watch me prove it. Who are you to doubt my music? Cause I call the shots, I choose if you die. Yeah, I call the shots and so I choose who survives. I'll tie you up in knots when I lock you inside.
So here, the lighter Ren is at a point of frantic panic and confusion and defensiveness and says, right, I'm in charge. This is stopping. I'm going to kill you. How will a frantic, panicking, afraid, insecure, darker side react to that?
Newsflash! I was created at the dawn of creation. I am temptation. I am the snake in Eden. I am the reason for treason, beheading all kings. I am sin, with no rhyme or reason. Son of the morning, Lucifer, Antichrist, father of lies. Mephistopheles, truth in a blender, deceitful pretender, the banished avenger, the righteous surrender. When standing in front of my solar eclipse, my name is stitched to your lips. So you see, I won't bow to the will of a mortal, feeble and normal. You wanna kill me? I'm eternal immortal.
The dark side reacts by escalating to full-on evil in the words he's saying. He's representing a kind of universal evil, whether you call that the devil or something else. But I think this part elevates the song to something more universal, maybe. This is all about Ren's battle, but it's reflecting how many of us face this kind of inner conflict, and whether we believe in the devil or evil at all, or this particular imagery, it's a character that's fairly universally recognizable, whatever name you call that in your belief system or your culture or your way of seeing the world or your religion. It's a character who is claiming responsibility for all badness, all darkness, all conflict, and the rejected, frightened, controlling dark side of Ren is insisting that he is that.
I live in every decision that catalyzes chaos, that causes division. I live inside death, the beginning of ends. I am you, you are me, I am you, Ren.
Even with those words, even with those chords, is he evil? Even when he's saying that he's essentially the devil, what he sounds to me, after bearing in mind far too many listens to this song, he sounds angry and very scared. Like he's hitting out, it's defensive. The escalation of all of those fears and all of that confusion has manifested in this. But is he actually Lucifer, as he claims? Or is he like a frightened child who doesn't really understand what's going on, but doesn't know how else to deal with things? And I don't know. But the more I listen, the more I think it's that, rather than believing every word that he says at this point. If we don't believe that Ren is a failure who copies other artists, then why do we believe him when he says that he lives in every decision that catalyzed chaos, that causes division? I don't know.
Hi, Ren. I've been taking some time to be distant. I've been taking some time to be still. I've been taking some time to be by myself, and I've spent half my life ill.
And what's happening here? After what seemed like the chaos completely taking over and dominating and extinguishing the entire rest of Ren, there's a pause, there's a big calming in the music, and Ren is back. But this isn't dark Ren or light Ren. This is a third character who maybe sounds calmer and more grounded and more gathered.
But just as sure as the tide starts turning, just as sure as the night has dawned, just as sure as the rainfall soon runs dry when you stand in an eye of a storm. I was made to be tested and twisted. I was made to be broken and beat. I was made by his hand, it's all part of his plan that I stand on my own 2 feet. And you know me, my will is eternal. And you know me, you've met me before. Face to face with a beast, I will rise from the east and I'll settle on the ocean floor.
There's a strength here that he tried to have at the beginning of the song when he was arguing with the darker side. He tried to have this strength, but here it is firm and it is determined. And at this point, he looks directly into the camera.
And I go by many names also. Some people know me as Hope. Some people know me as the voice that you hear when you loosen the noose on the rope.
Ren, what are you doing to us? The first time I heard this song, I feared he was going to say something like, some people know me as God, and that he was going to be some kind of supernatural being. But no, it's hope he's talking about. Hope. The thing that sometimes whispers loudly enough that we loosen the noose on the rope. These few lines have been responsible for a decent proportion of the sobbing I've done to this song. I go by many names also. Some people know me as Hope. Some people know me as the voice that you hear when you loosen the noose on the rope. This is poetry, and he is embodying the thing that we all need at times. He's embodying hope, and he's singing about hope. His lyrics are about finding and possessing hope.
And you know how I know that I'll prosper? 'Cause I stand here beside you today. I have stood in the flames that cremated my brain, and I didn't once flinch or shake.
And you know what? I've also stood in flames that cremated my brain. I can't say that I didn't flinch or shake, though. But that's okay, because I also stand here beside you today. If you're listening to this, you've got this far. We might have lost hope many times, but we're still here. Whether we flinched or shook or not, I stand here beside you today. Ren stands beside us today. You stand beside people today. And that is strength, and that is hope, and that is power.
So coward the man I've become when I sing from the top of my lungs, that I won't retire, I'll stand in your fire, inspire that me to be strong. And when I am gone I will rise in the music that I left behind. Ferocious, persistent, immortal like you, we're a climbing to different sides.
He's talking directly to the darker side, the angry side, the destructive side. Ferocious, persistent, immortal like you, we're a coin with two different sides. This is the integrated Ren. We are a coin with two different sides. It's all me.
When I was 17 years old, I shouted out into an empty room, into a blank canvas, that I would defeat the forces of evil. And for the next 10 years of my life, I suffered the consequences, with autoimmunity, illness, and psychosis. As I got older, I realized there were no real winners and there were no real losers in psychological warfare, but there were victims and there were students.
There were no real winners and there are no real losers in psychological warfare. First of all, calling that inner conflict psychological warfare is a slightly breathtaking way of putting it, but it feels accurate. Nobody wins and nobody loses. We just keep battling. But then he says, but there are victims. And there are students. We can break, but we can also learn and grow.
It wasn't David versus Goliath. It was a pendulum, eternally swaying from the dark to the light. And the more intensely that the light shone, the darker the shadow it cast.
This made me think of the conversation on impermanence that I had with Jan on episode 170. When Ren talks about the pendulum eternally swaying, things change constantly. They never stay still, and part of that is a merging and a mixing and a lot of contrasting in our minds with different proportions of dark and light at each stage. And if we can stop thinking of it as a battle to combat the dark, when the reality and the truth is that it's this merging, mixing pendulum, then the conflict can drop down several notches.
It was never really a battle for me to win. It was an eternal dance. And like a dance, the more rigid I became, the harder it got. The more I cursed my clumsy footsteps, the more I struggled.
The more rigid we are, the harder it is to do this dance with our inner critic that we need to do. With our inner critic, with our inner battles, with our inner conflict, whatever that looks like for us. And the more we curse our clumsy footsteps and we focus on beating ourselves up for everything we've failed on and every time we didn't win the battle, the harder it is to dance with the thing that's sharing our brain with us. If we're rigid and tense and harden ourselves up, the harder it is to do any of this eternal dance. And I said dance because I've heard him say it a lot. I don't say dance. But the harder this dance is, we know that you can't dance when you're really tense. The rigidity makes it harder.
So I got older, and I learned to relax, and I learned to soften, and that dance got easier.
And this is not relax like chill out and feel better. It's relax like let things happen, let go of control, to soften, like he says.
It is this eternal dance that separates human beings from angels, from demons, from gods. And I must not forget, we must not forget, that we are human beings.
The fact that we struggle with this is what makes us human. The fact that we struggle with this also means we're not evil, but it means we're not perfect either. When we expect ourselves to be perfect, or when we fear ourselves to be evil, we can't be, because if we were, there would be no dance to do. You can see how Steve Chapman, talking in his TED Talk about dancing with his inner critic, which I found after this song created these profound shifts in me. You can see why that meant I had to invite him to be a guest. And I'm so thankful that he was. I will link to that episode in the show notes because it's worth listening to. He has an approach to his inner critic that was such a revelation to me and also a bit scary, well, a bit terrifying, really. Please go and watch the full song with the video all in one go without me nattering in the middle of it on YouTube. I will put the link in the show notes to watch the whole thing. It is well worth it. And if you want to re-listen to this commentary while watching the video, I've put this on my YouTube channel separately to the podcast as well, in case that's something you want to do. Incredible song by an incredible artist. Apparently Andrew Lloyd Webber said that Ren is like the best storytelling songwriter of his generation. And you can see how that High Ren is unlike anything I've witnessed musically. And it breaks me and heals me a little bit every time I watch it or listen to it. I mostly watch it. So go and watch it if you can cope, if that's not too much. For me, even when it is too much, it's too much in a good way.
It's the bit where that hoarder shouts out someone wise.
So shout out this week to Josh on Twitter, @Josh, who said, "May the tears you cried in 2024 water the seeds you're planting in 2025. Okay, thank you for listening, and I will speak to you next time. Thank you for listening to That Hoarder Overcome Compulsive Hoarding podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you on board. You can find all the links I've mentioned and a transcript of the episode online at overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk. To find out more about how you can support this podcast and the overall project, go to overcomecompulsivehoarding.co.uk/support and do subscribe to the podcast so you make sure you don't miss any future episodes. There may be links in this podcast that earn me money. This doesn't come at any extra cost to you if you make a purchase through those links, and it helps to support the podcast.